folks to... Thanks, Noelle. So while we're waiting for some people to kind of trickle in, maybe we can put in the chat, where you folks are from. And if you have an EV, maybe to talk about your EV model, or if you want, just to kind of get us started.
Hi, I'm Lauren, and can you hear me?
Yes.
So my wife and I, we both are now driving. We have our fourth and fifth EVs, and we're both driving Kias. She's driving a Kia Niro, and I'm very happily driving an EV6. And we live in Lower Puna on the Big Island.
Nice.
Looks like Steve has a 23 Model Y. Ruda, you've got a Bolt. Got to hear about that. This event is about affordable EVs. Mark's got a Leaf. My first EV was a Leaf. And it's still going strong, by the way. It's 2011, and my mother-in-law drives it, and it's still going strong. Still on the same brake pads.
That's amazing. That's amazing. All right, shall we start? All right, look at all this. I love it. I love it. Very cool. Okay, so we're just going to start. I'm going to kind of just do a short introduction, so you guys hang tight. So, today's webinar is What's the Deal? We're going to save money by driving electric, kind of recapping our National Drive Electric Week from last week and kind of talking about some really cool deals that we have today. So before we start, I just want to introduce our team. We've got Noelle, he's our president from the Big Island. Nanette is our treasurer from Honolulu. We've got Tam, who's our director from the Big Island. We've got Rob from Maui, and then we've got Michael from Kauai, and then myself from Honolulu. We also have a very special volunteer here. Her name is Noreen, and she is also on Oahu helping us out as well. And so just to share a little bit about Hawaii EV, I know most of you folks are EV enthusiasts, as we can tell through the chat, everyone's got an EV here. And really to talk about, we're a grassroots organization. We recently became a 501c3, so that's really exciting for us. So we are really trying to support EV owners, advocates, and also just electric mobility as a whole, really trying to take away from fossil fuels and really focus on clean mobility. So we want to advocate for EV adoption, educate people who would be buyers, and just really help dealers and anyone else who wants to sell/purchase, and just working to expand our charging and network and infrastructure. So that's a little bit about us. I want to show you folks a recap of what we did last week, so hang tight.
Good morning. Happy National Drive Electric Day. We're taking a look at cyber trucks, electric bikes, and more.
Bravo.
Want to say a special thank you to Noreen and her husband Marcus Reimel for putting that together for us. Really fast turnaround time, and thank you for all the different islands for participating. So yeah, that was kind of a little nice recap. And if you want to, you can always like and subscribe to us on YouTube. Next, we have Noel, and he'll share a little bit about some of the statewide stats that we have for our EVs.
Yes, and thank you. And one of the images in that strip was of me and Stephanie, my wife. And if you noticed, I had a much lighter or grayer goatee, and no one has commented, including Lauren. I think you would have been the first to say, "What did you do?" And I didn't go to the spa, and I didn't get any dye. It was courtesy of Zoom. So I'm going to get rid of these special effects here and be myself again. Anyway, I'm going to share my screen and share with you content on our website. So all this information is on our website. But one of the things I want to highlight is the progress that we're making. We're probably over 34,000 EVs registered in the state at this point. This is data from last month. And Lauren, when you and I got our first EVs back in 2011, the count was like 450 or so EVs in the state, and we're now at 34,000. So the growth, the trajectory is great. The adoption is picking up. It's still about 3% of the cars in the state, over 1 million cars, and we burn about 40 million gallons of gasoline every month still, right? So a lot of progress being made. However, we can do better, and we must do better. The next chart here is the counts from each county and the rate of change between September 2023 and 24. And you can see that the adoption rate, again, across all the counties, they're fairly significant. So we're getting quite a bit of the growth that we're expecting. We obviously need to accelerate this, and the work that we all do collectively is going to help make a difference. The other thing I was asked to socialize is information about the various incentives that are available that can help would-be EV owners in a better position to adopt. And on the website as well, there's a page that we have on federal incentives. This page summarizes the various incentives that exist today. I think many of you know that the incentives for some EVs, some makes, can go up to $7,500. It was a tax credit previously, but now it's also available as a point of sale, meaning you can get the benefit upfront when you make the purchase. I do want to highlight that on our website, there's a link to fueleconomy.gov where you can actually get the latest information about the EVs that are available for credits. And if you go there, you'll get this list. It's a long list of EVs, right? I'll just scroll through it so you get a sense for what's available. And this just highlights the breadth of choice that now exists as it relates to electric vehicles. There's almost one for every need, and obviously this is not the complete list. These are just the vehicles that are available for the tax credit. Now, in addition, we are able to now also apply the credit to pre-owned vehicles. And that could be $4,000 or up to 30% of the price of the vehicle. So there's a price limit of $25,000 for the vehicle. There's also an income cap, and it has to be purchased through a dealer. The question is, what if you have someone, or what if you're trying to sell your car as a private individual and there's somebody who wants to buy it? Fortunately, there's an online dealer that can facilitate this transaction for you. So if you have a used car and you want to sell it and you want the buyer to avail of the rebate, there's a way to do it, and it's through this company called Key Savvy. When you click on this link, it'll take you to the website, and there's an experience for the buyer and an experience for the seller. The seller has to put the vehicle on the website. And what happens is, if it's a qualified transaction, the buyer is able to get the discount, and then the seller will apply for the credit. So this is an opportunity for someone who wants to buy a used car from another person and would like to avail of the benefit. So I think I've covered what I need to. Maybe I'll just highlight leases also apply. In the case of a lease, the company will actually apply for the credit. They may or may not provide you with a discount. So I think it's really important to ask about that or to negotiate that so you can actually get the benefit. And with that, I'm going to transition to Nanette. Thank you. Oh, Keith, you have your hand up. Was there a question?
Yeah. You had said that it has to be a qualifying for a used to qualify for the used 4,000 credit dollar credit. It has to be a qualifying transaction. Now, is that only the second owner, or is it doesn't have it hasn't had a credit applied to that vehicle?
I think
previously?
it has. That's a good question. Does anyone know the answer to that? I think it has to be applied just once.
I think, because I was going to ask the same thing, Keith. So I think, Noel, that you can only get that tax credit one time.
That makes sense.
Per vehicle for used. I know you said it hasn't been, you couldn't be sold as a used before, which implies if it's sold twice as a used. But I think it's just a one-time deal, but we should get that clarified.
Okay. Ruth.
I had a question about the limit, the $25,000 limit on the price of the used car. So if say the car costs $35,000, then can you get the rebate for $25,000?
I don't think so.
I think that's the max price.
Yeah.
Max price for the vehicle.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Too bad.
And,
that would be
by
great.
the way, when Hertz was selling a lot of the used Teslas, they were under 25, so they are out there.
Yeah, there are many used cars. I think over at the Oahu event, someone was selling a Leaf. I saw an ad. Was it $2,500
for $2,500? Yeah.
And then in Hilo, there was someone selling a 2016 Soul with a relatively new battery. The battery was upgraded, and he was selling it for $11,000. Had the charging station, the wall charger, and all that. And it was in great shape. So there are a number of used pre-owned EVs out there in great condition. So you don't have to bump up against the 25. You can get it well under 25. Any other question? Okay, Nanette.
I'm gonna, before we kind of introduce our EV owners, I'm gonna share with you EV info sheet that is available. I'll put a link. I'm not sure if Noel has this on the website yet.
I do.
But let me. Oh, you do. Okay. Let me share. Okay. Okay. So this is a vehicle EV info sheet that we put together for Drive Electric Week. So it's 2 pages long, and these are all of the EVs that are currently available, not necessarily in Hawaii. They're either available or they are coming soon. So there's quite a long list of vehicles out there for everyone to choose from. And then I just want to point out, and then I'll put a link, or Noel, do you have the actual link? If you can put that in the chat.
I'll put it in the chat.
Okay. So on this sheet here, and another EV association, the DC EV Association, actually puts this together every year. And so they were gracious enough to let us use it and put our branding on that. And then I updated it to Hawaii costs, because they had 15 cents per kilowatt electricity costs. So of course that's triple here. But I just want to point out here, and you guys can take a look at the sheet later, that this is the average price of a gas car in the US for about $48,000. So all of these EVs are actually below this average cost. So there's quite a few that you can select from. And I know there's really good lease deals out there. Tesla owner, the Model 3 you can get for as low as $299, which is crazy. And then the Nissans and the Leafs, they have some good lease deals on them as well. So a lot of good opportunities for affordable EVs. I think we still kind of get that stigma that it's only for the rich, when that's not the case anymore. EVs are, you just come to Oahu, there's EVs everywhere, right? On the other islands as well. So this is a good resource, especially if you have someone, I know we're EV owners here, but if you have someone who's interested, this is kind of a good summary sheet. So they don't have to do their research and look up all the different EVs. Just give them kind of a snapshot of the different EVs that are out there. And this will be updated. I think they'll update it for Drive Electric Earth Day and then National Drive Electric Week. So it'll be updated each year. All right, let me stop sharing. So we have a few EV owners here, affordable EV owners here. And I'm going to introduce them. I'm just going to list your names and then we'll do a short introduction. If you can just introduce yourself, the type of EV you have, how long you've owned it, and why you got an EV versus gas. So we have somebody from each island. So I will start with, I would just call you guys names. Let's see. How about we start with Mark from Laliha? So if you can introduce yourself, let us know what EV you have, how long you've had it, and why you want EV.
Hey, my name is Mark Munar. As stated, I live here in Honolulu, and I've had my EV for 2 years. And I guess some background. Back in 2022, when there was high gas prices and vehicle shortage across the world, me and my family were paying about $90 a gallon for our minivan for gas, and we frankly didn't need all of that capacity for a car, and it was obviously very expensive to pay that much in gas every time, right? And ultimately, we had that minivan for 20 years as well, so it was the family car. But long story short, we had to replace that car because it was old, and we did look at the market to see what was out there, gas, hybrid, or electric. And some of the reasons why we decided to get an electric car was that we also had solar on our house, and we had extra capacity on it for future needs. And ultimately, for purchasing a new car, would have been a lot more money, right? So I always been told one sort of sweet spot for the used car market is leased vehicles that have a 3-year lease and then potentially get sold from the dealers. So I filtered my selection for used vehicles to that, and I got lucky from Tony Nissan. They had basically electric cars, a couple of electric cars that just finished their lease. So I got a 2019 Nissan Leaf in 2022, and I got it for about $25,000. But yeah, I felt like that was there was such demand for vehicles at that point, and so ultimately we decided to purchase it, and I never looked back. That was 2 years ago.
That's great. Yeah, that's a good idea, and something we should tell other people, right? That when you're looking for a used EV, consider that getting a lease turn in, right? The car is still relatively new. Hopefully it's not as much mileage on it, so that's a good option, especially if it's coming from a dealer, and then now you can get that rebate on it, right? The used car rebate. I don't know if I think the dealers have to opt in to participate in the used car credit, if I'm not mistaken. But we can check on that. Okay, next up we have, and feel free to ask any questions. This is going to be just kind of a relaxed conversation amongst all of us.
Hey, Nanette, if I may, as far as the pre-owned credit goes, there's also a reference to the fact that the model year, it says here, it must have a model year 2 years prior to the current calendar year.
Okay.
So there's also some recency, dimension to it. It can't be, I guess it can't be too new, right? That's how you would interpret it. I'm also curious, Mark, when you purchased it from the dealer, do they offer any information about the battery? Like a battery health check or report?
I think what was available, if I remember correctly, was at least on the Leaf dashboard, you could see the health of the battery, and then there was all 12 bars. At least for the point inspection, they also checked, the battery was okay as well. And
Okay.
in terms of mileage, it was only about 34,000 when I got it. And for our family, we really don't drive that much, relatively speaking, since we're in town. So it seemed like it was in good shape.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, next let's move to the Big Island. Ruth?
Oh, hi. Thank you. So I drive this Kia Niro EV. It's 2020, and I bought it about a year and a half into its life. It had been leased by the Kia dealer, and then when the car was returned, I had gone to the Kia dealer and said, please keep your eye out for a car that is 1 or 2 years old, because I had been buying used cars for a long time. I had a Prius before that, and I believe in buying a used car because the price is so much reduced as soon as it's driven off the lot. So to save money, I asked them to look for one. So they found one. I think it was on Kauai, but anyway. And then they shipped it over here. They said, we have one. And I went and looked at it, and it was a very fancy car. And I really just wanted a basic car. But they said, well, this is what we have. And again, it was at that time that Mark mentioned there was a shortage of cars of all kinds. And so anyway, I had been in line to get a Tesla. For some time, I had been wanting to do whatever I could personally about the climate situation. And so obviously one of the things you can do is to move to an electric car. So I had been in line to get a Tesla, and then when the cars became available, they weren't $35,000; they were $50,000, and I felt that that is bait and switch, and I don't like that. And so I had this number in my brain, though, 35,000. So I went to the Kia place, and the car was supposed to be $38,000, and I said, I'd like to buy it for 35. And they said, okay. So I would, I guess that's a tip. We're supposed to give tips.
Yes.
Yeah, haggle. And so anyway, and the reason, one of the reasons that I wanted to switch, another reason I wanted to switch from a Prius to an all electric car is because having experienced the Prius, I realized that things can go wrong with the combustion engine, things can go wrong with the electric motor, and things can go wrong with the interface. So when you buy an electric car, it's not just simpler than a combustion engine. If you're going from a hybrid, it's like one of those three things. So anyway, I've been very happy with my car, and I got advice from Lauren. Thank you very much, Lauren, about setting up the charger in my carport. And he turned me on. He said, "Oh, you can get this one. You were really good. I appreciated that, Lauren. You can buy this one on Amazon, $300. It's a dumb one, and that's really all you need unless you're sharing with somebody." So okay, so I bought that, and then I hired the electrician. He put it in. It was not $500, less than $500, so $800 to put in the charger in my house, and I have 17 panels on the roof, solar panels. So it costs, I figured it was going to cost $110 a month in electricity, just based on, little calculations. But I don't know, my electric bill has never been over $100. So I'm happy. Thank you very much. Aloha.
Thanks, Ruth. Great. Okay, let's stay on the Big Island. Let's move on to Lauren. Oh, you're on mute.
Hi, everybody, and it's nice to see many familiar faces. Like Noel, probably around 2007, we got on the waiting list for a Tesla Model S and ended up buying a Leaf while we were waiting. The Model S came out a few years after they promised it would, and we have a big solar system, and we run our cars on the solar system, like Noel. And the Leaf started degrading in its range rather quickly, and we live about 31 miles from Hilo, and pretty soon, every time we took the Leaf to Hilo, we had to get a charge in order to be able to get back home. We read about the Kia Soul, and we got rid of the Leaf and bought a Kia Soul that actually had a true 100-mile range. And by then we also had the Model S, which was a lovely car, but I had a lot of services on that car, and like 50, including 3 batteries, couple computers, all the door handles, the power steering rack, the drivetrain. I mean, it was like, although they came to the house to fix it, there were a lot of repairs. And as its life was coming to the end of its extended warranty, I had a new Model S on order and also a EV6, and I was waiting to see which would come first. I was told that they would lock in my reservation price at $79,000 for the Model S, but they had a revamp, a minor change to the front end. And by the time they told me my VIN was available, they wanted $105,000 for it. I went down the same week that they told me the VIN was available. Kia told me the EV6 was available, and it was about $70,000, and it rode like a dream, and it's a beautiful, beautiful car. It also had, at that point, Tesla wasn't even offering an extended warranty, and Kia had a 10-year, very reasonable extended warranty. So I got into the EV6, and I love the car. Runs as beautifully as the Tesla. Doesn't have a few of the features of the new Tesla, but living on an island, I don't really need those features. And we have over 150,000 gas-free miles. Like Ruth, I've helped, I don't know, probably 50 people buy electric cars. For easy installations, I've helped people by doing the installation of the charger for them. It's not legal, but I've done it a lot. And I'm very happy to be part of this community and know that this is one of the many ways that I contribute to the planet that my baby boomer generation did a lot of damage to. So I'm in with that and happy to be here.
Thanks, Warren. What would you suggest to someone who's interested, since you've converted so many people to EVs? Like, what is your kind of initial pitch to them if they're considering one?
Yeah, my initial pitch is very simple. Do you want to be part of the problem or part of the solution?
Oh, that's good. Good.
And it's a pretty easy, when someone's asking me about EVs, they're already curious about them. And I just have to report my truth, and especially there's a lot of people on the Big Island that are grandfathered into the original NEM electric solar system contract, which allows you to accumulate your kilowatts during the day and get them back for free at night. So at that point, running the EV, when you're running it on your solar and not having the maintenance of a gasoline car, it's a pretty done deal. And now, like I live about, like I said, 30 miles off the highway to Hilo, and I can drive. The other day I drove to Keoho, which is about as far as I can go on the island. It's about 115 miles or something, and I can go there and come back on my car without having to deal with any of the level 3 relatively unreliable chargers on the island. And in the 150,000 miles, we've never been stranded on the side of the road. Came close. You know, I ran on 0 once on my Tesla, and I had the turtle display on the Leaf, you know, but we made it, and we never got stranded.
That's great. You're definitely probably one of the earliest adopters of EVs here in the States. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Let's move on to Maui. Rita.
I don't know. Is Rita on?
Here, Rita? Is Rita here? Actually, Rita. I don't see Rita. Okay.
Rita's on Kauai. Ruta, rather.
Oh no,
there's also Rita.
This is a Rita.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I guess Rita's not here. So let's move on to Ruta then, from Kauai.
Hey, thank you. I moved to Kauai in 2017, and I moved from Maine, where you can imagine that I used a lot of energy to heat the house and to drive cars. So when I got to Kauai and figured I really want to get an electric vehicle and be free, be guilt-free at least, that I'm doing my part. So when I got here, I bought a 2016 Leaf, and I've been renting ever since I got here, so that the first 2 places where I lived, they allowed me to use the trickle charger, the level 1, so I would be charging all night. And then when I moved to this third house, together with being in a new house, I also got a Chevy Bolt that I think is a 2017. And I told my landlord that I would appreciate if he would put in a 240 outlet near where I'm parking, and he did. And I got a portable charger that I carry with me in my car, and I can charge, and that's included in my rent, which of course is higher than it was in the beginning. And I guess that's about it. It's been wonderful. Both of my cars have been used cars. I agree with Ruth. Why pay all that money when you can get it a year later for much, much less? And both my cars I like because they're small. We had a long talk about that yesterday. Was it yesterday, the day before, at the EV event, that it seems like most of the companies that make cars seem to be making them bigger and bigger and bigger, so that I keep not getting the cars that I used to have, like a Subaru. I loved Subaru, and the next year would have been a much larger car, and I don't understand. Why do you need a larger car? I don't. So I'm very happy with my Chevy Bolt. Who knows what's going to happen? If there are going to be more Bolts or not, I don't know. And if there are they going to keep them smaller than these others? So that's my story.
Great. Thanks, Ruta.
Thanks, Ruta. You know, I just want to comment about that, the value of getting a pre-owned. the moment you drive a brand new car off the lot, it's instantly depreciated, right? Like 10-15% or so. So you can get a pre-owned vehicle, and you're able to essentially achieve those savings immediately. It's always a temptation to get a brand new one, but if you're really cognizant of the pocketbook benefits of getting a slightly pre-owned, there's quite a bit of benefit associated with that.
We're just going to kind of open it up to questions or any kind of discussion we want to have about EVs or buying a used EV. Maybe, how do you research, the affordable EVs? Anything that the group wants to discuss, we're just going to open it up.
I think on Kauai, oftentimes it's a matter of what's available. Because other than that, you'd have to import your own. Like I was looking at Mazdas, they have this cute little car. I thought, oh, isn't that lovely? Well, they don't have any here on Kauai, so that does me no good. The big list, that we got of how much they cost and what they are. Well, first you have to find out what's on your island.
Yeah. Just to add to that, one really important consideration, especially if you're, if you're on the neighboring islands, is the availability of service. So Volkswagen, for example, is not serviced here, right? Same with Rivian, same with Tesla. Service as in we don't have a service center. Now, those manufacturers will actually have a technician come to your garage so they can service the vehicle here. But if there should be a major issue like a battery pack or a drive that needs to be replaced, the car would have to be shipped to Honolulu where the service centers are. So that's a consideration as you're shopping for a car. Find out what's available, especially from a service perspective on the island that you're on.
There's another detail, like when I got my Model S and it had a few vacations in Oahu, Tesla paid for the towing to the dock and the transportation on the barge. And I believe now that has to be covered by the owner, which would be quite expensive.
Yeah, it's half for the vehicles under warranty. They would pay for half of the transport, so the buyer would have to pay the other half.
So it's, I think, about $600 each way.
Yeah,
and also with the Tesla, they delivered it to my house in 2013, but now they only deliver it to Oahu, and the owner has to get it transported to Young Brothers and ship it to the neighbor island, which also is a fairly significant expense.
Yeah, so that's a consideration for any of the vehicles that are not where you don't have a dealership on the island, right? So the Rivian would be another example of that. There are a number of these vehicles that are coming up. They're really popular. You see them here, but in the event that there's a major service, they would have to be shipped to back to Honolulu until there's a service center here. Was there a question from Keith?
Yes. It says, other than Ford Lightning and Nissan Leaf, what EVs are bidirectional V2H vehicle to home?
I'm not aware of others. Does anyone know? I know Ford does it. Nissan, I'm not sure that they do it here now. I know they were doing it abroad. So it may be new technology for them to be able to do it. The Ford does it, the Ford Lightning. Does anyone know of other vehicles?
Yeah, my Kia EV6 has a 2 kW inverter built into the car, and it comes with the car. It's not an option.
But is it V2H or like, are you able to connect it to your house so that you're actually powering the house through the?
Well, I do, but again, it's an illegal connection.
Okay. Yeah, there are a number of cars that have the 110 or even 240 outlets that you can actually add an extension cord and power, critical appliances. The Ford Lightning that we had at the Hilo event, the gentleman actually installed a reel where he can actually just retract or pull out the extension cord, and then it retracts back when he's done with it. So he
Kind
had
of like a garden hose. Yeah.
yeah. So he had this system set up in his Lightning to do that.
Yeah. If you're shopping solar batteries for the home, um, considering the quantity of batteries that are in a vehicle, it's quite a deal. So I'm all about dual use. If you can use it as transportation and as backups for lights and refrigeration, I think it's a great option.
I think everything is moving that way. Tesla announced a couple years ago they were going to go bi-directional. China, which is the major player, they're over 50% new car sales electric now. They're aggressively going, vehicle to grid. As a result, their oil imports are down and oil's getting capped. That's another economic, very interesting piece to that. But different municipalities and power companies, on the mainland, there's a lot of Ford Lightning owners in certain areas, especially that are making money. Also in California, some of the buses, right? Oakland, not only are they saving thousands, tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars on fuel, they're actually making money because they're exporting back at night, at least at net metering, which I'm hoping we can, get going with HECO and KIUC. One of the things I'm, running on as far as, running for board of directors for KIUC coming up, and so trying to implement some things like that.
Yeah, the vehicle to load or vehicle to home capabilities has also demonstrated a lot of utility, in situations where there are disasters where the homeowner doesn't have access to power, and you now have this massive battery pack that can be leveraged to provide power to the home for a week or so. So it's also becoming a resiliency appliance for owners. And then on the point about vehicle to grid, at some point, this is just another component to the energy system. And if you can imagine all, like right now it's 34,000. What if it were 500,000 vehicles? So you have this massive energy store that, if it could be orchestrated with the grid, then you would have the ability for EVs in general to be also for resilience and also to stabilize the grid. So it'll eventually happen.
We do have a bad duck curve now, and also I forgot. Cybertruck actually does export. You can buy another thing, and it's fairly significant. So I think that's coming in mass, and there's great stories out of Asheville, North Carolina. I used to live there. With Helene and Lightning showing up and powering places. And so absolutely, Rivian's getting washed downriver, completely covered up and driving off. So there's some really tough, cool resiliency things out there.
Any other comment or question?
Well, just an amusing story. We had been driving EVs for quite a while, and we went to Australia and New Zealand, and we found ourselves in a big Toyota gasoline SUV, and I really resented paying $160 to fill it up when I returned that rental. That after driving an electric car for so long and having an electric lawnmower, I rarely go to the gas station, like maybe twice a year, to get a gas can. And it's a real nice feeling, to pass by all those gas stations and not have to stop. It's a huge sort of a benefit of driving electric.
And I was aware of how bad it smells when you're filling the car with gas. Or if you have one, I had a truck drive by me the other day, and I couldn't wait to get away from him. It stunk so much. It was just the fumes coming from the cars, from the truck. So, yes, all of a sudden the world is clean. The air is clean.
Thanks, Ruda. Ruth?
So this is not about buying a used EV, but to follow up on the rent-a-car story of Lorne, I went to Maui for a family event, and I found this electric car rental, and it's called something about Bug. I can't remember the exact name. Anyway, I communicated with them, and the charging, it was an adventure because I felt quite brave doing it. I don't know. But I thought, okay, I'll make it work. And they said, well, there is this one charger on Dairy Road. so I said, okay, fine. Anyway, and they had the car at the airport. I picked it up at the airport, and I drove it to my sister-in-law's house where I was staying. And I figured out how to just plug in the trickle charge. So whenever I wasn't driving, I had it plugged into her house. And then I gave her some money for her electric bill, not much. And so that's how it worked out. Trickle charged my electric rent-a-car. So I liked that adventure.
Very cool.
That's a good point too, right? You know, when someone's considering an electric car, not everyone owns a home or has home charging. So how do you overcome that, Lauren? Like, how do you overcome that, you know, that kind of a hurdle with someone who's going to have to use public charging? And I know on the Big Island it's a lot more difficult than here on Oahu, but even here on Oahu, it's difficult to public charge if you don't have, you know, for those who don't have charging at home.
Well, we have great promise, according to our electric vehicle association. You know, our level 3 chargers were going to be replaced the first quarter of this year, and then the second quarter of this year, and then the third quarter of this year, and we're still waiting. Once those chargers are installed and are reliable, and they've got 2 chargers actually at each location, then anybody on the Big Island, even cars with a very low amount of range, will be able to drive the island and not be nervous about it. There's a stretch right now that all the way from Hilo to Waimea, which I think is about 70 miles, there's only one charger in between, and it's been broken for maybe a year. And but once that's in, I think the longest distance will be from Kona to Naalehu will be the longest distance on the island, which is less than 100 miles for a charge. Maybe Naalehu to I think there's a charger going into Volcano. Is that right, Noel?
Yeah, and I'll share the details related to the charging stations that are due. But before I do that, Keith, did you have a quick?
I just had a little, you know, personal story. You know, again, home charging it changes your lifestyle. I owned my Nissan Leaf, and while fueling it, the weather's a lot worse in Seattle. I often stood in the rain and the wind, you know, for several minutes fueling the car, in the gasoline car. And it was so nice to have the Nissan Leaf charge overnight in the garage. I had a solar array on my garage roof. So yes, if you were able to charge at home, it'll change your life. You'll never stand in the wind and rain.
Absolutely. I want to just respond to Lauren's comment, and this is also a pitch for next. I think it's November 1st. Is that right, team? So
yeah.
November 1st, we have a webinar, and that webinar will feature DOT. So we're going to have Robin Shishido, who's responsible for the NEVI program. The NEVI program is the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Initiative, and it involves the deployment of DC fast chargers across the state. 2 on Kauai, 2 to 3 on Maui, 2 on on Honolulu and 5 on the Big Island. So this is not anything to do with Hawaiian Electric. Hawaiian Electric has their plan, which is to double up on some of the DC fast chargers that they have and to replace some of their DC fast chargers. Hawaiian Electric's charging stations are 50 kW. The NEVI charging equipment, each hub is supposed to have 4 DC fast chargers, each capable of 150 kW concurrent. So you can have 4 cars plugged in at 150 kW each, running concurrently. So there will be 5 of those on Hawaii Island, and Lauren, there will be one in Volcano Village. There's one planned for Hilo, one planned for Waimea, one planned for Kona, and one planned for Ocean View. So we'll know more. You'll learn more from the person in charge of the program. He's going to actually be available to share the details and then answer questions about the NEVI program on the 1st.
Wasn't there a planned charger for Saddle Road somewhere?
There are plans for Saddle Road. So DOT is working with the county to get not DC fast chargers, so level 2s on the Gilkehele rec area. Steve, did you have your hand up?
Super quick. I think we need a message that, chargers are kind of free. Ford's installing them for free. That's a new thing they're doing. KAC's got 500. Their federal government's got plenty of money. So there's a lot of money to cover chargers, loan. In addition, landing chargers in places. KAC's doing, $5,000 plus that, so there's a lot of money out there. We just need to, there's a lot of ones that are trying to get dropped in. So that's how I message people. And then during the EV event, back to maintenance, EVs, while there's one-offs where you do have to ship off, that's not EV alone, right? Gas cars sometimes have to do that also. And the best maintenance is no maintenance. And so EVs, a lot less, save money over time. That's it. Thanks.
Thanks, Steve. So we've got a few minutes left here. Does anyone have any final comments?
I do.
Noelle already.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
I was going to plug the next event, but you can plug it again.
No, please plug it. Go ahead, Nada. Go ahead.
So Noelle already mentioned our next event coming up on November 1st. So that's going to be talking about charging infrastructure throughout the state. We're kind of giving an update, right, of what we know. We don't know all the charging information, but we know the latest charger locations, and then we'll have the DOT coming out to speak with us, and hopefully some other participants as well, speakers as well for that event on November 1st. So that's going to be another lunchtime webinar, and so we will email you folks or look at our social media or on our website for information on that. Okay, Jen.
That's awesome. That's all the things. That was exactly what I was thinking. But also, if you guys haven't, please like and subscribe to us on Instagram, YouTube, and our web newsletter that we have on our website.
Yeah, and on Facebook. Yeah. And actually, let me put this in the chat. We do have, this has kind of all of our information. You can go to our website, but for a quick thing, we have a link tree. We do have a link tree page. And also on that tree, we do have Hawaii EV shirts now available for sale. So please purchase your Hawaii EV. I should have worn mine, but I wore it on Saturday, so it's dirty. So yeah, go to that. If you go to that link tree, it's got a link to the EV sheet, our website, how you can sign up for the newsletter, how you can donate to our organization now that we're a 501c3, and also how you can buy a t-shirt and some other information as well. That's all I got. Okay. Excellent. I think we're all at time. Thank you, everyone.
Nanette, you're supposed to sing a song before we end.
Oh,
no?
I didn't rehearse. I didn't have time.
Oh, okay. Maybe next time. Okay, thanks everybody. This is great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for doing this.